congratulations for another successful action film that you created with Pursuit.
Hey, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Now, tell us about the original idea that came for this story.
It came from the producer Andrew Stevens, who's a longtime actor, longtime producer. Very very famous in his own right, and a man I looked up to. And Andrew came to me and said, "Hey, I want to tell the story of Walking Tall, but with a little bit of a twist, because Walking Tall is a film that he had done previously." And so we started digging into this story, and he had a script written by Ben Fiore and Don Burstein, and he and I took that script and just started molding. I look at filmmaking like clay. You're always molding it all the way up until the edit, and final delivery. But and so that's where the story really came from, and I interjected kind of my own thoughts of, let's tell story about anti-heroes. Let's tell story about people who aren't black and white, but are kind of gray, and people who cross the line from being good to, I just have to achieve my goals, and so that's really where the foundation of the story came from.
Hey, Brian, tell us about your love of these action flicks that you love to direct. I mean, you've done numerous of them, and including the fact I know I talked to you on the second, which is the poster behind you, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, watching Commando, watching Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and the thing about these films that I loved was the effects were in camera, the stunts were real. I mean, it was almost as much fun watching them behind the scenes as it was watching the movies, because, at least for me, because I really enjoy watching how these guys put it together safely, put it together in a way that looked amazing, and this action, told a story, and you actually cared about characters. It wasn't. There's a lot of action films these days that it's sold strictly just on action. You don't really know who the character is. He gets in the car, gets blown up. Okay, it's another car explosion. I want to tell stories to where the guy getting in the car, you love him as much as you love your brother next door. I mean, it's that kind of emotional connection that I want to have with these characters. So when the action does happen, you actually you feel it. You have some sort of emotion inside that wants you to cheer for the guy, to cheer for the bad guy sometimes even.
So basically, your formula for action success is really to focus on the characters to keep it refreshing for you.
Exactly. I mean, it's 100% focus on the characters. Have the audience put the characters in situations that the audience can side with them, can feel something for them. So when the action happens, the action is that much more intense, and meaningful. It's meaningful.
Now, tell us more about the three characters that you focused on in this film, because you focused on like Emile, John, and then the main character from Jake, where all of them seem to actually have some kind of internal struggle within themselves.
Yeah, no, I mean that's really that was, you hit it right on the head. I mean, that's it. I wanted to tell a story to where we have these characters, and each one of them has their own internal struggle. Emile and Jake, their characters are similar struggles, and that's what, that's what Emile and Jake, that's what Emile sees in Jake. His characters is that this internal struggle. It's the same, and so he identifies with them and goes, hey, but then you've got the father who's just like, look, son, I want you to raise your son. I don't want what I did to you to your son. Don't lie to my grandson. Let's let's change things. And his desire for change just puts him right back into the same kind of loop.
Now, how do you direct like a high-profile actors like Emile and John into a film like? Because I want to say you do actually get a lot of high-profile actors into your films.
Yeah. It's I think it comes down to with Pursuit. It came down to really story and working with them on the script and development. And with John, you know, John came in really early, probably about 4 or 5 months before we started shooting, and he and I just honed this thing, and we worked together, and then we had a nice cohesive relationship. We talk often, and it was fantastic. And then when you get them on set, you know, there should always be like, you know, filmmaking is an art. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, it is a business. Absolutely, there's a business side to it. But you know, as far as a director goes, I look at it as an art. And when we get on set with actors like John, who has a pedigree, and Emile, who has this amazing pedigrees, you almost want this kind of like reverence on set, where it's like, you know, we're doing something that's meaningful. You know, it's just not something to be thrown up, you know, and sold cheaply, you know. So.
Tell us about the set locations for your particular film. I'm trying to remember if I recall. I wanted to say you're in Australia. What was this film in Australia? I'm just thinking. I could be wrong.
I actually live in Los Angeles. I'm from Arizona. But no, we filmed this one in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. So, you know, we were lured out there because of a tax incentive, as many productions are. They travel around because of tax incentives. But I think the locale really loaned itself, and the people there really opened their doors for us. I mean, we had the chief of police, Matt Edwards. We had you know, Trey, the mayor of Lone Oak. I mean, we had people coming out and just being like, "Hey, how can we help?" You know, and that's something that's absolutely refreshing. You know, it's fun going into locales like this when you have people that get excited about filmmaking again. Because I get excited about filmmaking every day. You know, so it's a lot of fun.
Especially the fact that a lot of these action stories aren't even told in small towns like this, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them are very urban, and you know, because it's a little easier to film. You know, when you go out on a locale like that. I mean, we were 20 miles outside of Little Rock, and it was a bit of a drive, but you know, we found what we needed.
So what's up next for you? More action films? I'm taking, because you have such a busy schedule.
Yeah, I know. I've got a thriller in post that will be out probably later this year. And then, yeah, I've actually been asked by Lionsgate to do another film for them. So that one's we're past the development stage. We're making offers, and it's a biopic. You know, so it's about. I mean, I can't say much more than that, but it's going to be a very exciting period piece, and you know, I'm really looking forward to that film. So.
Well, one more thing before I let you go, because as I'm watching this film, and I noticed about John Cusack's character is that he keeps on barbecuing red meat. What is the obsession with red meat?
Well, you know, his goose is cooked, I guess. I mean, it came down to you know, I think it came down to kind of a symbolize of the end, right? It's the last meal, and so I think that's where we were going with it. Is it was kind of symbolistic of his last meal, you know, and this is what he would choose to have is a grilled steak.
Most excellent. Well, Brian, it's wonderful to speak to you again, and hopefully we'll get to do this down the road again on many action films.
Yes, no, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye.